filling up on pizza. We may have bought extra, so take some home as a parting gift. Tonight we have Jen Looper joining us from Boston. Hey, Jen.
Hey.
She's going to talk about Firebase and NativeScript. Jen?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm just talking to my computer, so I'm assuming that there are folks out there, and I'll just say hi. I'm Jen. My name's Jen Looper, and I'm a developer advocate at Progress. I've been evangelizing for NativeScript and for Telerik platform. So I was hired as like a mobile girl when it was Telerik, and then we got acquired by Progress. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to do three things. I'm going to do some slides just in case there are new people who are interested in NativeScript and want a little, kind of introduction. If you are completely at home with NativeScript, you can kind of tune out during this first bit, but maybe you'll learn something. It's going to be cool. So I have a couple slides, and then I'm just going to scaffold up just an Angular app using NativeScript, and just do a little code walkthrough. And then I'm going to show you a demo that I created just for you guys. So I'm pretty excited about this, and knock on wood, all of this AWS stuff that's been going down won't impact anything. So far, so good with Firebase. It's funny because slides.com, which is hosting my slides, just tweeted 8 minutes ago, "We're back up, yay!" So, oh my god. So that's kind of scary. Anyway, so we'll see how this goes. All right. So here we go. So my name's Jen Looper, like I said. I'm a developer advocate at Progress, and you can find me on Twitter, where I am pretty much on Twitter all the time, and I'm at Jen Looper. So what is NativeScript? Let's just give a little definition about what we're meeting up about, what we're talking about tonight. So NativeScript is an open source framework for building truly native mobile apps with JavaScript. And you're using your web skills like TypeScript, Angular, and CSS, and you're getting native UI and performance on iOS and Android. So it's free. You can build and deploy apps to the store without paying a cent, which is awesome, except for, of course, when iOS makes you pay to play with the iOS App Store. That's cool. And then NativeScript is open source. Those are the two takeaways. And everything is Apache 2 licensed and available at github.com/NativeScript. So you can take a look at the repo, dig into the code. So I just wanted to kind of talk a little about the brief history of NativeScript. It's been in development for over 4 years, and it was started as a project at Telerik in 2013. And it was first released to the public in March of 2015, and it's been growing ever since. Brief show of hands, and I can't see you, so I'm just going to take this at faith. Maybe just yell out "yay" if you have a production NativeScript app in the stores right now. Can I hear a yay? Oh my god, it's so quiet. Oh, that's terrible. Okay, so how many people are currently trying to work with NativeScript and trying to build that first app? Can you get a little yay?
Yay!
Yay! Oh, good. Oh, thank God. It's like they all died. Okay. All right, so basically at the time, Telerik was, and still is, that we're building a lot of tooling for Apache Cordova and PhoneGap applications. And we're finding a lot of limitations with the Cordova ecosystem, and notably the performance, the difficulty of doing native-y type of things. So NativeScript was born out of this desire to build a framework that lets you use JavaScript to build mobile apps without the performance and usability limitations inherent in the Cordova ecosystem and Cordova development. So any PhoneGap developers out there still battling? Yay?
Yeah.
Okay, well that's cool. I have some stuff out there too. It's all good. Every tool has its uses. So we think at Progress that NativeScript is the best tool for cross-platform native app development, and I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove it to you with 5 reasons. Okay, here goes. Reason number 1. With NativeScript, you can build interfaces using these truly native UI components, and NativeScript does not use HTML. It does not use web views. It does not use a DOM. So the result is iOS and Android apps that feel native because actually they are native. So you can certainly go ahead and download this Examples app. If you search for Examples NativeScript in the app stores right now, you can go ahead and download that and play with it and see how it feels to have this kind of truly native experience between your fingers. So, reason number 2, with NativeScript, we have the ability to reuse various web developer skills and technologies. You write your logic in TypeScript or JavaScript. You style your apps with CSS or Sass. You install dependencies from NPM, and you have the ability to optionally use libraries like Angular and Webpack if you so choose. You are not obliged to use Angular. I'm going to show a little something that you can do with Angular, and maybe you'll be interested in this sort of thing, but you absolutely don't have to buy into Angular if you don't want to. So this kind of reuse of your skills means that you can get up and running quickly with NativeScript. And remember that native app development usually involves items like Objective-C, Swift, Java, and Xcode, and all that hot mess. With this sort of thing, you're basically just dealing with JavaScript at the core. So that's really kind of exciting, and it allows you to kind of reuse your skills. So you also have some architecture choices. You can choose how to architect your app based on your team's personal preferences and skill set. Just to kind of rehash what we just talked about, the core runtimes run JavaScript and everything else builds on top of that. So you can opt into TypeScript if you're a fan. I actually really enjoy writing TypeScript. I just find that it shortens my development time a little bit. And like I said, you can additionally opt into Angular if you'd like to use the Angular APIs to drive your mobile application. And if you're writing an Angular app, you're probably going to use TypeScript because that's what's encouraged by Google. But again, you're absolutely not obliged. Okay, reason number 3, ease of doing native-y things. So one of NativeScript's guiding principles is to make it easy to do these kind of native things. The NativeScript team believes that your JavaScript-based app should have just as much power as a natively written one, so that's really cool. So to start, NativeScript provides dozens of built-in modules that abstract complex native functionality behind simple-to-use JavaScript and TypeScript APIs. So for example, to allocate a file in a NativeScript app, you would import this file constructor and invoke it, as opposed to writing all the native code that you see on the bottom of the screen there. So there are a number of NativeScript modules that help you build your user interfaces using markup rather than complex native code. So, and this slide shows to just create a switch component. All you have to do is type switch and then close your tag switch. You can find the full list of components as well that we've built for you at docs.nativescript.org/UI/components. So you can take a look at the list. There are quite a few of them, and they abstract away all this kind of complexity. And you'll notice that what you see on my left is an Android switch, and on the right is this iOS switch. And you don't have to tinker around with creating these kind of native things because we abstract it away for you. And to build upon the built-in modules, the NativeScript community actually builds and maintains a robust set of NativeScript plugins, adding to the things the functionality that you need to kind of quickly and easily add to your NativeScript app. So if you need a way to handle zip files, here's a little zip plugin. What do we got here? Accelerometer, got a couple of those. I think there are 396 plugins listed here, and they're basically pulled off of NPM into our new plugins hub, and you can find that at plugins.nativescript.org. I'm going to be using the Firebase plugin tonight, which is one of the best, I think. And then finally, NativeScript provides the ability to leverage native Android and iOS libraries in your applications. And you can include jars from places like Android Arsenal, and you can also use CocoaPods from the iOS reusable libraries. Very, very useful. And you can just use those directly if you like. Number 4, a vibrant and growing community. This is my favorite. Very close to my heart is our NativeScript community. I've sort of evolved into this kind of community manager scenario, and I've been giving talks about how to build a great community in 10 easy steps, because with NativeScript, to be perfectly honest, we did it, it just kind of grew organically. It's not like I actually know what I'm doing, but all of a sudden we've got 3,000 people on Slack who are just like amazing. So when you use NativeScript, you join this kind of large growing community, and it spans the world. You can take a look at our community forum, which is pretty new. It's discourse.nativescript.org, and this is a great way to find kind of long response form help for any technical questions you might have, and we've got experts who are willing to help with your specific issues on the forum. We also have the NativeScript community Slack channel, and like I was mentioning, you see here we've got 3,077 people as of a couple days ago when I took a screenshot. They just keep coming, I don't even know. It's a great place to kind of chat water cooler style with other people in the NativeScript community. It's really a great place, and knock on wood, we've never had an issue. It's a really kind and cool community, and I really love them. Fifth reason, 5 out of 5, is NativeScript is supported by a major software company vested in your success, and that's Progress. It's a free open source project, but you can kind of rest assured that there is this major software company backing the project in full behind the scenes. And Progress is a Fortune 500 traded company with a long history in the software industry with over 1,000 employees worldwide. And those are the 5 reasons, so let me just see. I'm just going to stop blabbering and start building, unless there are any questions that anybody has. I'll try to crank up my mic and hear.
Questions? Not yet. Keep
Okay.
going.
All right, here we go. So tools. To do what I'm going to do tonight, this is part 2 of this evening. I'm going to go ahead and scaffold out a NativeScript Angular style app, and we're going to use NativeScript, Angular, and then I'm going to bring on Firebase as a back-end service. So for my demo, I'm going to tell you how I created a fun recipe app called QuickNoms, and but before we do that, I just want to show you what this kind of app looks like in the back. So let me just get out of this screen. Okay, I think I can just kill it. All right. Here we go. I'm going to get my command line going here. All right. So I'm going to create an app for you, and it's basically by using the NativeScript CLI, which is all installable on your own machine, free and open source. So all I have to do to create a regular NativeScript app, I would just do TNS, which is Tolerant NativeScript, TNS create my app name. But I'm going to go ahead and create an Angular app, so I'm going to add a little flag ng at the end. So let's do this. So let's see, where are we? So we're going to go to my desktop, and TNS create my app --ng. Let's create that Angular app, and it's pulling out of npm a couple of elements here, so you can see it's creating. Come on, Wi-Fi. Alright, so you can see it just kind of jump down there and grab several things out of npm, including the NativeScript widgets. So now all I have to do is go to cd my app. I'm going to open it up in code. So I have the CLI for Visual Studio Code, my favorite IDE here, and here is my app. So I'm just going to minimize that a little bit. So just a note about Visual Studio Code. I know everybody has preferences about the IDE that they use. I started using Sublime, but I don't know, suddenly everyone started using Visual Studio Code and it became just wildly popular. And people started creating these really awesome integrations and plugins. We have a very nice code completion plugin for NativeScript, and then we have NativeScript's own plugin so that you can just run your apps right out of Visual Studio Code. I'm still kind of learning how to best use this IDE, but for the time being, I really, really like it. So let me just go here and start looking at this. So we have created our demo app, and you can see we have an app resources folder right here. We have an item folder, which we'll come back to, and then we have a couple of TypeScript files here and a CSS file. Now, in Visual Studio Code, I have set my preferences to not show any JavaScript or map files, which are compiled once you start tinkering around with your TypeScript. So just to keep everything clean and tidy, I don't show my JavaScript files, but rest assured those are being compiled in the back. So when we start an app, we usually start with the package JSON file. So let's just start from here. And this basically lists all your dependencies that you need. We are pulling down quite a few pieces, thank you, quite a few pieces of, I really should quit. Sorry guys, 1 second. Where's my sleep? Oh, there we go. Okay, hush. Okay. Awesome. Okay, we're pulling down several pieces of Angular, the Angular libraries here. So we probably don't even need this forms bit, but it just comes by default since we're not building a form with this app, but maybe we will in the future. We also have a NativeScript theme core, which are the built-in themes. Actually, this is a community-built project of nice themes that you can use to make your app style nicely without having to write a lot of custom CSS. That's really helpful. We have RxJS, which is a great way to handle your observables. If anybody's been looking at that library, it's complicated, but once you start wrapping your head around observables, which are used heavily in Angular, it becomes a little more intuitive on how to use them. And then we have version 2.5.1 of TNS core modules. So these are the modules that I mentioned earlier. This is the library of the switches and all of the lists and all of these sort of things that you're going to need in your app. Above that, we have our platforms folder. So here you would, when you start building, you'll find your iOS and your Android folders where your app is actually being built. We haven't done anything, so you can see that's empty. Then we move up to this internal package JSON file, which you don't need to worry about. And then the fun starts here in your main TypeScript file. So in main TypeScript, this is where we import the app's main module, and we bootstrap our NativeScript app right here. Bootstrap that's up. We have ahead of time compilation AOT support. I'm not tinkering with it too much right now for this kind of very basic app, but when you start taking your Angular apps into production, you're going to possibly want to look at tree shaking, ahead of time compilation, and Webpack. That's like advanced topics, so we're just going to do that. Let's just pretend we didn't see that. Moving on to app.
Hey, Jen.
Yes.
Would it be possible to bump your font up about two strokes there?
Like that?
That's way better. Yeah, that definitely helps.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, you didn't miss anything. Just here's your package. Package JSON.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So package JSON is here. Platforms, the empty. We were just at main TypeScript and we bootstrapped all of this good stuff. Let me just make it a little bigger. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then we get into the routing module. And this is where we set up our routes, setting the home page and the routes for the master and detail pages, because actually what was just scaffolded, it was this, well, okay, it was, they call it a football app, but we call it a soccer app, so it's a list of soccer players. So we have items, which is basically the list of players, and then you can click on these and get your item ID in the detail component. So we set our base path to items, and then we set the items path to the items component. So the router, you got to watch your router file, make sure everything is set properly there, or else you're going to lose control of where the heck you are in your app. So next we would take a look at app module, and this is where we import all the required pieces of the app and build the ng module, which is basically your app skeleton. So here we import the service that we use. So your service is where you would handle your backend calls or any sort of data massaging that you need to do. You import your items component, which is your kind of home-based component, and then your detail component. So Angular really likes to keep everything nice and modular. So they have like an ng module base, and that kind of pulls in all the other little modules, like here we have these components here. And then app CSS. This is kind of cool because all we're doing in this situation is importing the themes that I mentioned. We're importing core light CSS theme, but you can look at the UI themes that are all listed here. There's about, I want to say, 20 themes, maybe fewer, that you can just like grab and pull down, and it's just a great way to just style your app really quickly. I really appreciate this stuff because after a while you get tired of screwing around with colors. Okay, and then we move on to app component CSS. Here's your component, and this is where we declare the template URL, and that's your app component HTML file. So that sets this file to be your kind of like home page. And notice it's literally just one line. It's just an outlet. So this is kind of like the base div, where all of the other components are going to get pulled in. All the HTML is injected here. So that's kind of like the scaffolding pieces, all of this stuff. And then the way you architect your app is you start building out these separate folders. I have an app called Practice Buddy. Actually, let me just show you what a, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let me just show you what a mature and production-ready Angular app looks like. So you can see this, I just did a release today, so there's some messy bits there. But if you take a look here, okay. You can see that I have a ton of folders here. I've got home, sticker gallery, student admin, student history, student home, teacher home, all of these folders that are different parts of the app. But it still comes down to, you have your app component, HTML, your TypeScript file, your basic CSS, your module, your routes, and your main. And then you do your dependencies and package. So then when you start building your app, you just keep on building folder after folder after folder. And I find that Angular helps me manage the complexity of the app. It's an opinionated framework, so it really helps you kind of just like organize your brain if you are a framework type of person. Some people absolutely hate that and want to just do it their way, and it's totally cool. So no problem. Okay, but getting into the way this app was scaffolded, and remember I haven't touched it at all, so this is just the way it comes scaffolded according to the template that's given to us. We look in the items folder, and here we can find some interesting things. We have a TypeScript file called item, and this is basically the model. So you can see this is the name of the soccer player and the role that that person plays, like goalie or whatever. So that's your model, and then the service is where we have the data that's going to be pulled into our list. And then we have a couple of calls here. There is a get items method, and then the get item. So just one at a time, and you pass it the item that you want. So that's that. The home page is this items component, and it pulls in the items component HTML file, grabs a list, and dumps that list that it grabbed from the service that we just saw into the this items. So that is a very, very simple HTML on the front end. This is the first page you're going to see, and I'll run it in just a second. So all it is an action bar, and then a stack layout with a list view. And there's the items list that we just saw. There are other ways to handle this sort of thing, but this is like the most basic kind of structure that you can have. And the label is clickable, so it has a router link, and you would click on it, and it would pull in the item ID of what we just asked for. So that was items, and then once you click that, you will get into the item detail, and it's just pulling in according to what it was brought in on the route. Remember, it asked for the ID along the route, and it just gets the item according to the ID back from the service and dumps it into this very basic second page, which is the item detail. And interestingly enough, the way it's scaffolded is with a flexbox layout. So you notice the layout here is a stack layout, so it stacks, and then there's a list, and then a template to kind of make that list look a little bit nicer. But here we get a little fancier in item detail, and it's actually a flexbox layout. So using flexbox is totally possible in NativeScript, and it's really neat. I have a blog post about that. I recreated the Twitter layout using Flexbox, so it's kind of a cool thing to see how far you can push Flexbox. If you are a web developer and you enjoy using Flexbox, then we've made this available for you. So that's really nice. So let's go ahead and run this app. All I have to do to run this app is to miss and ls. And I'll do it also on Android. Let's see. So since I'm on a Mac, I use Genymotion. So I'll just start. Where is it? Okay. So while all of these things are waiting, I'll just. Okay, so we're watching iOS start here. The first time it runs, it needs to do a lot of preparation, so it's going to be a little bit longer. Okay, so my Android emulator is starting up here. I kind of like Genymotion. I know a lot of people use the regular native emulator, but it seems to work okay for me. So that is just about ready to go, so TNS run and mode. Once it decides to start up, I'll hit that. Okay. All right, now it's a race. Let's see which comes up faster. Come on, iOS. Don't let me down. Okay, so right now it is executing a live sync hook. Very nice. So it's thinking about it. I'm going to knock your socks off in just a minute, so. Promises, promises. What did happen? Oh my god, that's crazy. That's awesome. Okay, so the demos. Wow, interesting. Interesting errors coming up right now. I tested this at least 5 times today, so I'll try one more time on iOS, and otherwise we'll just stick to Genemotion. Anybody have any questions while we're waiting for my emulators to behave? Anybody tinkering with Angular? And how are you enjoying it?
They all look shell-shocked.
Sorry, was that what I don't understand?
There's one guy who actually wrote a book on Angular.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Said that's about the last book he'll write.
That's a lot. I mean, we're just writing a book is plenty.
Yeah, was it Angular 2, was it? Yeah. It was Angular 2, so I'm sure you can imagine the shifting sands of do my demos still work.
Yeah. Well, Angular 4 is coming at us, and I understand that it runs considerably faster. I don't think it would help in this scenario because something's going on with my emulators, but it looks a little bit better.
It's probably the S3 outage.
It could be. Jeez, it's been working all day. I'm so sorry.
We have a question, Jen.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you create TNS new project and then dash entity, every time you do that, does it go to the internet and pull in the files, or if it is doing that, is there a way just to pull those things from the local cache?
So
did you hear the question?
I think so. So just to repeat the question, whenever I do a TNS create my app, that is pulling everything down from npm that is necessary and doing a build for you. But the second time, it doesn't have to do that yanking down, which is like, that's why the slowness is happening. So when I do my demo with QuickNoms, I think it'll go a little bit faster. We'll find out. So what I end up doing a lot of times is I do TNS run iOS just to keep live syncing, and I'm going to try to demo that in a second. But if I need to do a cache clean and a rebuild, then I do a TNS run iOS -- clean. And that sometimes will just clean everything that needs to be cleaned, grab any native bits that need to be rebuilt, and rebuild it. Come on, come on.
Look, if you look at your iOS and you did the same thing 3 times and it decided it was going to be moody the second time, and then the third time it worked fine.
Yeah, there was some strange errors that I've never seen before, so it's still thinking about it for Android, but I feel like it's going to happen, but anyway.
Yeah, it looks good.
This is awesome. Okay, so for iOS, this is my app. It's really a thing of beauty and a joy forever. You can tell it was built in Bulgaria. I have no, well, okay, I know who Neymar is, but anyway, these guys. So let's find out. Okay, he's a midfielder. That's awesome. Defender, fabulous. What I really wanted to show you is actually how you go ahead and can do oops, I did not mean to do that. Wait, okay. What I wanted to show you is how live syncing works, actually. So what I was just going to do is do a quick change to the action bar class. So whenever I hit save, Genymotion got it quicker than iOS. That's real interesting. Okay, so I want to see if this is all going to behave itself. There's Genymotion. Come on, iOS. The ideal is that you're running, your two apps at the same time, and you're able to make these beautiful live sync changes. I may have shot myself in the foot by stopping the live sync process on my iOS terminal, but let's just show on Jenny. Hot pink for sure. Oops. And it should yes. So that is a great demo. There it is, yay, okay, hello iOS, pay attention. Finally, we're back in business, people. I just wanted to show you the speed of live sync, which actually has improved tremendously in the past couple of releases of NativeScript. Let me just do one more, and let's do a race and see who's faster. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Aha, iOS. Oh, and Android. Okay. So, just to give you an idea, this makes development just so much easier because you can just quickly get changes pulled down into your app. And it answers your question about yanking things off of NPM constantly. It's really just that first moment that happens. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you. This is part 2. Do you have any questions that I can help you with? Anybody a soccer fan? Oh, this is kind of interesting, actually. Because we're on Android, we are handling the back button quite nicely. In iOS, our action bar has that standard iOS back button, and there's really nothing in the code that differentiates between that. So if we would look in the items component, all we have is that this is an action bar. It's an iOS action bar. That's an Android action bar. That's another nice element of NativeScript. Sorry, did someone have something?
Yeah, and that's actually a very good point, because since NativeScript is native, when you get a native iOS action bar, you get this back feature in it. And with Android, it's different because it's native.
Yeah.
And so we handle that.
Yeah, but there's nothing more annoying to an iOS person like me when I see Android-y things contaminating my iPhone. So I want that native experience. If I see a lot of material design all over my iOS apps, it drives me a little crazy. I'm sure vice versa for Android people. They don't want to see an iOS design pattern. And that's what you get with these kind of standard Cordova-type apps, because it's really just running in a web view. So they're doing unless you do a lot of forking of your code, you're not going to have that truly native look and feel or the native performance experience. So.
We did have a question.
Yeah.
Just give me 2 seconds, Jen.
Yeah.
How would she position?
How would you position NativeScript with React Native?
Ooh, that's the $1 million question. They are trying to do the same thing with different techniques. And I am not a React Native aficionado or guru, but what I understand happens is that there's a certain amount of bridging going on in React Native code, as opposed to NativeScript, which is a runtime. So there are some performance implications for both of those scenarios, and you kind of have to decide. I guess the biggest decision you have to make is: do you want to learn React? Are you invested in React? If you really are, and your company really is, you might want to go ahead and pick React Native. If, on the other hand, you want, maybe to write in vanilla JavaScript, TypeScript, or Angular especially, then you would pick the NativeScript story potentially. But they're basically, it's everyone's trying to solve the performance issue everywhere, on the web, on mobile, and everyone's doing it in slightly different fashion. It's kind of really an interesting space to be in right now, because it's kind of a new technology, but everyone's trying to just solve the same problem a little bit differently.
Yeah, and plus one thing to think about is, Facebook makes money when you click on Facebook ads. And Progress makes its money when you buy developer tools. So who
That's
would you
true.
rather do the developer tools for out?
That's true.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, my dad always said, if you follow the money, you'll kind of understand what people's intent is. And I think Facebook is very generous to give away the code that they do, but from time to time they change their minds, and that
Yes.
could put you in an uncomfortable spot. Is that going to happen? I don't know. If I knew the answer to that, I'd have $10 million in the stock market by the end of the month. But there's this philosophical difference between Facebook, who is allowing you to share their shiny toy, and Progress, who is in business to make developers better and make software better in general.
Yeah, we basically have our DNA doing developer tools, trying to make developers' lives easier, as opposed to Facebook, which is a social media, so they just have a different focus, which is totally cool, and long live Facebook, but
Right.
So are we done with are we done with changing colors and all this good stuff? I'm going to go ahead and try to, so I learned something. If you do HHI, worked. I'm going to go ahead and do something much more interesting, which is my app demo. And AWS, don't fail me now. I don't think it's going to screw with me. Okay, so what I want to show you is an app that I created. So the history of this app, this is the QuickNoms app. So if you just go to quicknoms.com, that's not the one. Good Lord. Okay. QuickNoms. So this website started out about a year and a half ago, and when my daughter was getting ready to go to college, and I realized she literally doesn't know how to cook. And this is on me, and this is really, really bad. So I decided, oh my God, let's make something really, really easy for all the starving children out there. We need a recipe app, and it needs to be 5 ingredients, 15 minutes, minimal setup. Just cook it and don't starve. And try not to, deprive yourself of nutrition, because you're going to need it when you're studying. So this started out as a static site, and it's still actually on my GitHub repo. If you go to my GitHub is jlooper/QuickNoms. On the GH Pages branch is my static site, which has all these recipes kind of like hard-coded as markdown files. So within the past, I'm very proud of myself, because in the past 2 days, I started on Friday, finished up on Sunday, and deployed everything and switched the DNS and everything just for y'all. Is this new QuickNoms app, which was done using the Angular CLI. I have to say, I love the Angular CLI. You're just able to just so quickly spin up an app using ng create my new app, and then it just creates it for you. And I used Angular Fire to integrate Angular in an easier way, and that worked brilliantly for the most part. So within just a couple days, you can spin up something relatively serious using the Angular CLI. I didn't really want to go into the architecture of this website, because this is a NativeScript Meetup, but if you have any questions about how to do this, and you can go ahead and visit this. It should be looking decent on your mobile phone, like this. It should have a nice pull down, and you should be able to go to your recipe categories, and you'll find all these recipes. And I am not like a food photographer, so all of this stuff is from my kitchen for the most part, but I do guarantee that all the recipes are tested and they're pretty good. So my daughter has the best guacamole recipe, so that's in here. And you can basically sort these by categories. So there's 6 categories. Click into the vegetarian dishes, and it'll allow you to pass right along that router that we talked about, these basic recipes. So ingredients, tools, and your method, and that's it. So on the website, the vision is that you go ahead and you submit your recipes in this form here. And again, building forms in Angular, it's so easy, unbelievable. So if anybody actually has any 5 ingredient easy recipes, submit them, and I'll test them, and I might post them live, and you'll be famous. So anyway, these recipes go into the Firebase console. So here we go into the third part of this talk, which is talking about how awesome Firebase is. And I am not an evangelist for Angular, for the Angular CLI, or for Firebase, but they're so fabulous, I just can't stop talking about them. So this is the QuickNoms instance of Firebase. Now, why would you choose Firebase? Well, If you need a very awesome backend service that works beautifully on the web, works nicely with Angular, works nice with NativeScript because we have a beautiful plugin, you might want to pick Firebase. And what I like about it is that by using observables and by using Firebase's own real-time database, any changes you make in the database or that occur in the databases are instantly reflected in your app. Now, of course, this can go horribly wrong, but if you're a little bit careful with your database design, it'll be okay. So Firebase has a lot of tools that you can use for your mobile apps. For Practice Buddy, which is what I showed you earlier, I use authentication, the login modules, and they have all kinds of social sign-on that you can use. Very, very useful. You just set up your sign-in method, Facebook, Twitter, Google, GitHub. The thing that I use the most, and here's where the recipes are hosted, is the real-time database. So here is that applesauce recipe that I just showed you. So it's just a few fields here, and then you can just show it right in your app. Storage is where I keep all of the images, all of the pictures. So that Apple picture is stored right here, and Firebase will give you a downloadable URL, and that's saved back into the database so that it's paired with your recipe. Hosting, I cannot say enough about hosting. Firebase hosting is the bomb.com because it's all done on secure HTTPS protocols, so you don't have to screw around with integrating all that yourself. It's just kind of taken care of for you, and it's just so convenient. It's so great. And you just do these kind of deployments. It has Test Lab, which is sort of like the cloud testing. If you want to try to test your app against many different emulators, they have this sort of thing. Crash reporting, never use it. Apps never crash. Yeah, you're laughing. Notifications. So if you want to deal with any kind of push notifications, you can do it here. It's a little hard to configure, to be perfectly honest, but it always is because iOS push notifications are an absolute nightmare. But once you get it working, it works really well. So this is just something that's available for you if you like push notifications. I used in this app also the remote config. So in my mobile app, and I'll demonstrate how this is done, we have these little messages that you can push from your back end, and they'll appear within a time limit that you set yourself on the front end. So that's pretty convenient. You could use it not just for messages, but you could use it for content blocks. Like if you had like an Easter message or something, and you wanted to maybe just like geofence it for like only in Boston, we want to say Happy St. Patrick's Day, please don't drink too much and don't drive. That sort of thing. It's very useful for your user base. Dynamic links I haven't tinkered with too much, but AdMob is very, very useful. I'm going to go ahead and use this in one of my other apps probably, just to have the kind of ads that can serve, just so you can try to monetize these things one way or another. So that's just really convenient. So I'm just going to open up my database right here. I'm just going to do the demo here. So it turns out that I have a very convenient 5-ingredient fudge recipe. Sorry, it is called, and I'm just going to copy paste. Basic. Okay, so this is a super simple fudge recipe. Just put the notes, and all you need is this stuff, and you need some tools. I need to switch those fields. And then the method is just super basic. I kind of like how it tells you to take the fudge out of the pan and like slap it down upside down and peel off the paper and chop. I thought it was kind of cool. So we're going to put that in the desserts category for sure. And then let's upload a file that I conveniently have on my desktop. It's kind of amazing. So we're just going to submit that. Okay. Now, where did it go? It's here. Look. It made it to my database. And see, I got smart because I had some bad experiences with stuff appearing immediately real time. So I set it to approved false. So it hasn't appeared yet here. It's going to be in the desserts. So let's just see if we can make this thing behave itself on mobile. If I open up the QuickNoms app on Jenny and open it up on iOS, so that's interesting. So this will be set to true. Actually, that was an interesting little blip right there, and I'm not sure why that happened, but obviously there's a problem with my logic. That shouldn't have appeared immediately, but it did. So, oh well. Anyway, so here is the fudge recipe because I just approved it on the web, and then on my mobile apps, it also made it to the top. And here it is on iOS. So there it is. So I have to just fix that little blip, but anyway. It does show you how fast content can get to your app. I don't know if you are familiar with the recipe app called Forks Over Knives, but I basically copied their interface because I love it so much. So all it is basically these are the ingredients, the tools, and the procedure, which I just input in the database. So that's what it is. And I kind of like this also as a demo because it shows you, again, a very, very simple, this is called a segmented bar module. And on iOS it looks like a segmented bar, and on Android it looks like an Android segmented bar. But I didn't do any forking of the code to create it. So the other thing I wanted to show you is this concept of remote config. So if we change this to talk about the recipe that we just posted, so we're going to call it fudge recipe, update it, and publish the changes. All right, whatever. I'm not sure why Firebase did that, but that's okay. So sometimes this is going to supposedly change right here when I close this app and reopen it. I think I click it here. Oops. You have to completely close it. Now let's see if it decides to come through. I set it to refresh in a 10-second interval, but I found that it can be a little finicky. See, it didn't refresh, so let's just try kill that and then bring it in again. Okay, so here that worked. I think the 10 seconds just hit right at that moment. So here we have the fudge recipe that came through on the messaging. So that is my app demo. And you can see how on the web you can share at least the back end between your mobile app and your web app. Using Firebase, we have these kind of real-time options, and you've got a lot of awesome analytics and other goodies that Firebase gives you for free. I should mention for free. You can upscale and pay them a little bit, but you get really a lot for free, and I really like that. So what I will do now is keep QuickNoms up. So what I wanted to do is just talk a little about the code that's behind this, and you're going to recognize that it's not a lot different from the code that we just scaffolded out. So I'm just going to open my app code. So NativeScript QuickNoms. Alrighty. So here we are again, home base. Before I do this code walkthrough, did anybody have any questions? Anybody hungry?
Yeah, we have some questions.
Okay. Whoa.
The question is, when will I learn to walk properly?
Showing the competition, how to get started with the Firebase.
We have some interest in showing the config and how to get started with Firebase.
Okay. I'm going to do that
On
in
NativeScript.
yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Yeah.
Anyone else? We have a question in the back.
So when you're running with Dailymotion, are you have a free like a native script that will run Dailymotion emulator, or are you typing in the emulate flag and then passing in the device name to the emulator?
So the question is how to run Genymotion on this Mac without a lot of flags. Yeah.
Yes.
So the way I do it, now you can do I think what you just said, which is like -- emulator -- a particular ID of that emulator or of your device. But what I just do is I just make sure I have Genymotion open and running, and then it knows to pick up it picks up the closest emulator, so the one that's open. So that's kind of how I usually operate. I just find it easier than trying to remember. Or I really dislike using the native I think it's called the native AWD emulator. So I just use Jenny and just keep it open all the time and just keep running on it. So that's kind of just a good way to keep going. But eventually, of course, you want to test on device. So emulators will only get you so far. But for this kind of app, this is pretty basic. You're just doing layouts and grabbing data out of Firebase.
Cool.
Yeah?
Is that it for questions for now? Speak once, speak twice. All right, we're good.
All right, part 3. So you were asking about how we go ahead and integrate Firebase. Well, as we say in Boston, it's wicked easy. So all you have to do is make sure that you have your NativeScript plugin Firebase as a dependency in your package JSON. So this is the file like I showed earlier, which has all this Angular stuff, NativeScript's flavor of Angular, and then you have this plugin right here. And just another nice thing about this IDE is you can always like mouse over and make sure you're up to date. So I'm at 3.10 when I just updated. I wonder if that's why I had a little issue. Anyway, I'll have to debug that. So you can just do this manually by pasting this in and running a build, or you can do TNS plugin add NativeScript plugin Firebase, and that will do the job for you. So you can do it by the TNS command, or just do it manually like I usually do. And this NativeScript plugin is a beautiful, beautiful plugin. And it's by Mr. Plugin, Eddie Verbruggen. And he has all of the stuff that's supported in this plugin on this GitHub repo. So you can just visit him, Eddie Verbruggen, NativeScript plugin Firebase, or just visit our plugins hub and search for Firebase, and you'll find a couple of them, but this is the one you want. NativeScript plugin Firebase. And he supports the database, authentication, the remote config like I was showing you, cloud messaging, which is your push stuff, storage, which is like you can upload files, crash reporting, analytics, and admin. So basically everything that Firebase gives you is supported in this plugin. So it's fabulous. It's just really, really, really great. Okay. Once you run a build, it's going to give you this extra JSON file, and it stores your preferences. It runs a post-install script. So I basically said, yes, I'm using iOS and Android. I want to use remote config, but I don't need messaging. So you just kind of set your preferences here, and then every time you run a fresh build or update your Firebase plugin, it will go ahead and look at this file and just take all your preferences and only install bits and pieces. The reason for this is the Firebase plugin, as you can imagine, is pretty heavy, pretty big, and if you don't need to, integrate Facebook auth, just leave it be. Just don't need that stuff. So that's the reason for that. Once you have your plugin installed, and you know it's going to be installed when you look in your node modules and you can see that plugin has been installed, then you need to initialize the plugin. This is the simplest of all initialization patterns. So all you have to do is in the main.ts, which is like kind of the brain of your app, you just do this little init code here, Firebase init, and then you can just do a couple console logs saying it's done or it's not done, or you can do other things. If you want to pass in properties like for your storage bucket, which Firebase gives you, you're going to include that here. So you kind of set your configuration for Firebase in main.ts. And then we basically are back to our standard master detail strategy, which is exactly the same as like we just looked at. So we just have recipes, and the recipes with the ID. App module looks really, really similar. It's literally only the names that have changed to protect the innocent.
Hey,
yes, sir.
yeah, I do have one more question.
Yes.
In the NativeScript plugin documentation, it says that you need to download some JSON file, one for Android and one for iOS, and you need to drop it in the specific folders. I think she missed that part. That's the part that I'm usually.
The question sort of was about when you download a plugin, you have to put a JSON.
The plist file. Or
There's some
that
plist
comes from
file with a
Firebase.
plugin. Is that true with Firebase?
Not with this guy. You just download. The plugin should take care of all that stuff for you. I think if you're using the native SDKs, you have to do that. The post install script takes care of all of that stuff for you. What the problem that you might be encountering is it on Android? What you need to do on Android, especially on Genymotion emulators, is make sure that your Google Play services are updated, and all of the Google Play stuff is installed. Firebase has a dependency on Google Play. It's all Google, so they force you to install a bit of extra stuff. I believe you can dodge it if you just want to test on device, but I know on Genymotion I do have it set up, and it did take a little bit of doing to get Genymotion to understand that this is a Firebase app and that the Google Play dependencies need to be installed. It's kind of a pain, actually. Maybe is that what you're encountering?
Well, I think he's talking about, like, if you look at the documentation in the page in the back of your code app, just the next window back, there's something about there's a note about a plist. That looks like.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Indeed. Sorry about that. I jumped the gun. And you caught me, and that's very, very good, because yes, you do need to go into your Firebase instance that you set up here, and you do need to go into your project settings. And here, for your Android app, you need to grab the Google Services JSON file and dump it into your, let's see, it's right into app resources, sorry. So you dump that file right here. So in Android, you can see it's Google Services JSON. You just dump it here. And here in iOS, you dump your plist file. I apologize, you caught me. This is, yes, this is critical. Without this, you're dead in the water. So that is, but it is easy. After you've got that sorted, you can go to the races. But what you do when you're setting up your Firebase instance, let me just create a new project. So you just create a new project. Hello. Firebase dependent on the AWS. That would be ridiculous. Oh, Lord. Okay. So here is where they kind of give you a sort of a wizard, and you add Firebase, you give it the bundle ID that you're going to call it. So mine would be like Ladies First Media, because that's my company. Hello, Raleigh. And then just tester. And then you add the app. This will generate the plist file. Don't have to mess with that stuff. Don't have to mess with that stuff. But here now you can download your plist file, and it downloads right to your desktop or wherever. Then you just dump it in. Same thing if you would want to add an Android app. Ladies First Media. Thank you for helping me do a completely new talk with a big gap. I don't like that packaging. I bet you they don't like that. Oh, okay. Learn that too. And then you just go on. You don't have to worry about this shenanigans. And then you can always grab and reintegrate these files that are available. So right here, Google Services JSON and Google Service Info plist. And those just get dumped into your app resources folders in a proper location. They are right here. And they look like this. It's basically just a bunch of configuration. Here's the plist file. So what it really needs to do is to link your app to the storage bucket that's created, and to make sure the bundle ID is all is all in sync. So, good catch. Anything else I screwed up on?
Any other questions?
I've been doing Firebase so long that I sometimes I just forget.
Okay, we're good.
All right, moving on. So let's see. We were at, oh yes, I was at the CSS file, because this is actually kind of cool. So with this app, I got rid of the theme, the core theme that you can use, because I like to kind of custom build my stuff. So I just wanted to let you know that with this much CSS, which is just like 50 lines, you can really style the bejesus out of your app. I mean, it's not bad. So I think that's kind of neat. It's basically, I like to do card interfaces, so I just always have a card and an inner card. The card is that external bit, and then the inner card is the internal. Some captions, title, name, background color, homepage color, and then, you know, just with that much, you can really kind of go to the races. App component looks really similar to what we just saw earlier. But where it gets fun is the recipes service. And because we're using Firebase, this is where it gets a little complicated, because you need to wrap your head a little bit around this real-time database and the way it behaves. So what I do is, to get all of my recipes, I basically return an observable to get all of this bunch of recipes. And all it's doing is it's querying the recipes database bit, which you saw earlier. It's called a collection of recipes. Very, very simple. And then it's using ngzone to run asynchronously this command, and then to grab all of your results. And what you need to do is add a value listener to your Firebase instance. So it's going to listen at every time anything changes in the value of what's in this recipes collection. Every time that changes, it's gonna just go ahead and update the UI. So that's kind of the power of Firebase. It's actually a little bit scary sometimes, but it's using the power of observables and Firebase's real-time database to be really, really responsive. So that's where the whole responsive app title comes from. And then to get the recipe, to get one recipe along the router, I don't rerun this query. I just look at the observable that was created up here, which is called this all recipes, and I just filter it by the ID and grab the first element. So that's very, very easy. You don't have to keep hitting your database. And then I only have another bit here, get message, that I wanted to share with you, which is this remote config. So this is that piece that I was changing from Firebase, and is reflected onto the front end. So I set the cache expiration seconds to be 10, so that, you know, update quickly, but you can set it to a little bit longer. And then this is just, you know, fetching this data and pushing it at your app. So that's very, very useful. Publish updates actually is massaging the data that's returned in this observable, and it is just sorting it by date, so that the fudge recipe appeared at the top. So this is where really all the tricky bits that you need to kind of wrap your head around a little bit with Firebase comes in. Because it's not, Firebase database is not only real-time, but it's also NoSQL. So to query against it, you need to just kind of wrap your head around, you know, you're not going to have nested data. You're just going to like get one chunk at a time, or a whole bunch of chunks at a time, and then watch them for changes. So I'm coming from like SQL Server world, and it's really, really different. It just takes a little bit of time to understand. Recipes component is just grabbing the recipes from the service and the message from remote config, dumping it into these observables here, recipes and messages. And then on the front end, we just display that stuff. And I usually use a wrap layout right here to create a card layout, and then I just have a stack layout here. So I just do an ng4, which creates the loop and displays the data asynchronously. So it's just, and you saw, you know, it grabs the cards and puts the data into it, and it takes a tiny bit longer for the images to come through. You might want to mitigate that by putting a little loader or something. I built this in a couple days, so it's not polished up quite yet. I'll get it better. So this is just kind of this asynchronous grabbing of data and displaying it on the front end. And then you have this tab to go to the recipe by the ID. And in the detail, I basically subscribe to the router, which is telling me what param it's looking at, getting the recipe according to the ID, and then making everything just lay out nicely on the front end. This bit handles the changing of the tabs. So the detail component is just not much markup on the front end at all. It's just a little bit here. So that's the cards and the way they look. And that is the whole story of QuickNoms, built in about a week. I invite you to take a look at the website, tinker with it, give me your recipes, I'll credit you, and good luck with all this good stuff. Anybody have any particular questions? I kind of slammed through this really fast.
One question, Jim. Is it possible for you to, I know you created a new Firebase database and you created a new NativeScript application. Can you just add those field lists and the JSON file and then just connect to the Firebase and do a console.log?
All right, let's see what we can do.
I was having some issues. I spent like a day or two or maybe 3 days. I couldn't figure it out in Android or iOS, but I was able to connect to the Android without any issues.
Okay.
So,
so let's see. What I need to do is, I think I know what. Are you encountering any errors on iOS? Does anything come through in the console? What exactly comes through in the console? Because I think I can help you debug. Does it have to do with child added?
I don't remember. It's more than a couple of weeks, so I just stopped trying.
Okay, well let me just open up this bit. So one thing I will have to check is, okay, so it was called My App, so I can't remember what I called it in Json. Okay, it's called org NativeScript My App. So let me go ahead, I have to redo this bit on Firebase. Because one thing you have to do is make sure that your bundle ID is identical. So let me just go into it. Okay, so I'm gonna hit my limit here. So I'm gonna just delete the Hello Raleigh app. One thing I found is don't try to overwrite, just delete and recreate. I think it's settings. All right. Goodbye, Raleigh. Okay. So, back to Firebase. Create new project. It's called org NativeScript My App. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Do that. Continue. Finish. Let's do it for Android. I'm so used to doing my own company. Scripts. Put it on here. We'll grab those files. so that's number 1. Okay, I don't want to mix these up. Get that one. So what I usually end up doing, so get this one, and this one, rename this one. Oops. Computer decides to go on strike. That's painful. Okay. All right. Whew. Desktop. More app resources, Android. Dump. App resources, iOS. All right, so then we would have to go and grab. Actually, let's do the plugin install first. So I'm just going to open up a new window and just do a little copy paste. So we'll just go QuickNoms. I hope I'm not boring anyone to tears here. You have to take my word for it that Firebase development is awesome.
Everyone is looking at the screen and not their laptop.
Oh, good. Okay. So we're just going to grab this plugin and dump it into this guy. Okay, and then in main, we're going to have to initialize the app. So we'll just do the simplest possible way. I'm trying to think if I've forgotten anything. I don't think so. Just put it right above the platform bootstrapping. So here we go. Yes. Forgot. Got to import it. Isn't this IDE great? It like tells you you're an idiot. So it's squiggly because we haven't done the plugin install yet. So let's try the install. Okay, I'm just gonna, okay, beautiful. So here's where, can you see this? This is kind of small.
No.
Meta? Meta. Okay, so here's the post-install script. So it grabbed the NativeScript plugin Firebase 3.10.1, and now it's gonna ask me what to do with it. So I'm gonna use iOS yes, Android yes, don't really care about that, remote config, messaging, nah. Crash recording now. No crashes. Storage. No on Facebook authentication. No on Google authentication. No on AdMob. And then it asks, do you want to save the configuration? Yes. Okay. Now, let's make sure. And so the squigglies should have just read. So they went away. That's awesome. Perfect. Okay. TNS on files. So first install might take a little bit. It's like the Sims have like woken up. So that's interesting. I see an error coming through. It's trying to install Firebase, but it can't find the variable.
Something like this.
Is this what you're hitting?
No, I was getting a different. But it works in
Let
Android.
me make sure that, so we look in node modules, make sure the thing got installed. NativeScript, Firebase. Okay, it did get installed, that's good. So then, when we see this sort of thing, we go and ask Eddie. We go to plugin and see, make sure I did everything right. So I dumped that in, I dumped this in. Did the installation. TNS plugin add, we don't need it, it's okay, we don't need to bother. So there was a little issue with NativeScript 2.5.0, which I'm still on, that had a, but I did go through the post-install script, so that's kind of strange. Did the TypeScript, we imported that, we did this. Invalid token. Well, that was interesting. I think in this situation what I would do is a clean run. Oops. So TNS run, iOS clean, and see. I'm trying to remember if there's anything I screwed up. This time I think I didn't. Oh, it did give me a Firebase init done, so actually maybe we're in the money. Maybe that time it went through. Let's just make sure. Analytics is enabled, good. So yeah, I think we're good here. Yeah, Firebase init done. Firebase analytics started. Debug, beautiful. So there we go. So that's what it looks like on iOS. It's interesting at this point to go back into the console and see if they picked up anything in the analytics. And you can see that, you know, you had an install. It'll count as a, not for Android. The analytics for Firebase are super impressive. It actually gives you the gender of your users. It's a little scary. But so I guess it's not quite picked up yet. It might take a little time. But anyway, I can show you what one of my apps in production looks like if you want to see. Active users. Not yet. Anyway, it hasn't been picked up quite yet. It probably has a schedule to run on. But I'll show you, if you look at my Practice Buddy app, which is an app for music students and their teachers. It's kind of nice. I was just looking at it today, and I saw that I had a lot of Dutch users. So I think I better translate into Dutch. Well, not a lot of Dutch users, some Dutch users. Netherlands, not bad. More Danes actually. Oh, I'm in trouble. Anyway, so anyway, that did install nicely. Do you want me to try it for Android?
No, thank you.
Okay. You can, why don't you go ahead and ping me on the forums if you want, and we can help you with your install.
Sure.
Cool. Anything else? Any weird Firebase-y things I can help with?
We have a question, 2 seconds.
Actually, this is a weird Firebase question, but I'm wondering, you were showing your recipe application.
Say it again. Sorry. Couldn't quite catch that. Something about the recipe?
You said you were showing your recipe application.
Yes.
On the web, and I'm wondering if that's running the same code base as mobile.
So can you repeat, Dan?
Yeah, the question is, you have a web version of QuickNoms and a mobile version of QuickNoms for each platform. Are they running out of the same code base? And I think the question is getting to what type of sharing was there?
So that's a great question. So I've been like the queen of shared code for the past year. And the way I've been sharing code has been using a particular seed which is by Nathan Walker. If I can freaking open the browser, it would help. It is Nathan's Angular 2 seed. So this is the proper way to share code between web and mobile. It's wicked complex. What I would do is go ahead and download it and see how far you get. So for our internal hackathon, we created a slightly considerably stripped down version of this, but I've been bad and I haven't been maintaining it. And Angular changes really quickly. But what you do, and I'll show you a code base that does this. So if you visit my website called Pocket Rave, this is a truly shared code base using this kind of seed. So it has a download if you want to create a Pocket Rave. So what this is this basically is all stored in Firebase again, and it allows you to create drawings on mobile, and then those drawings are saved to the web, and you pair it with music, and then you get these like awesome raves with music out of Spotify. So that's pretty epic. But the code base is kind of unbelievable. I'll show you what it looks like. So, I do need to update this code base a little bit. But I gave talks on this all last year. How to do this properly. So, Pocket Rave. There it is. I don't know why my computer's getting a little sluggish, but sorry about that. I think it's tired. It hasn't had dinner either, man. Okay. So to share your code, he makes use of a bunch of symlinks. So, and this is a completely different topic, I'll just give you an idea. You are building your app in this folder here with the components and everything, and all these folders. And the way you build it cross-platform for web and mobile is, for example, a home component. You have a naming convention that is respected by the build process. So you have home component HTML, that's the web page you just saw. Home component TNS HTML is the NativeScript app. So here's all that stack layout stuff that you see. So you have to fork your front end pretty hard from each other because, again, with NativeScript we don't have a DOM to play with. So we just have to, use this kind of markup on the NativeScript side. And then this is for the web. You see standard divs and all that stuff that we're used to building. Same thing with the CSS. You kind of need to fork that a little bit so that you can make the look and feel really nice. But what's shared, and this is the money proposition of this kind of seed, is the component code is shared, and the routes are shared, and the services are shared. So I only have one Firebase service. Now, with Firebase, you use these flags. If you're on a NativeScript mobile native app, you use Eddie's NativeScript plugin. See that in it? That looks really familiar, right? But on the web, you cannot use that plugin. You need to use the web integration. So you have this whole different way of dealing with Firebase on the web, and it's using the native or the regular web SDKs. So you're forking within your service a little bit inline, and then you're forking your front end. So you're really sharing component routes and it's on service, Firebase service, and then you go ahead and fork this bit by bit. So if you can get your head around it and get into like the rhythm of developing, your web is updating and then your mobile apps are updating, it can work. It can work. If you are looking to just test this out, I have created a stripped down version of that seed, and it is at GitHub. Juniper basic one. Oh my god, they're showing off the lights. Do you have to like
Dark Jen.
Oh my gosh. I'm scared. Okay. It's called the Angular Starter Project. We called it the AMPS project. And it'll, thank you, it'll be a multi-platform starter for web, mobile, Electron, so desktop, and your web. We just stripped it down to make it a little bit easier. I need to update this. It's just like, oh my god, I have so much work. So We're getting there. We're getting there. But take a look at this. I think it's easier to understand than the Angular seed. So that was like a second talk in about like a few seconds.
And we take pull requests.
Yes, please.
So, you know, when she was explaining that, I think the first time I heard that, I was like, but I want to share all my code.
Yeah.
Think about it. With NativeScript, you're really getting a truly native UI, and HTML just doesn't work there.
Yeah.
There's no div tag. There's no H1. There's, you know, very native components that we've stitched together with a cross-platform set of tags for you.
Yeah.
And so you can get a long way in building web and mobile by sharing all the non-visuals, because that's the stuff that you've built and tested and you've kind of paid for it once. And so why not just use that?
Yes.
Again.
That's the money proposition of Angular. You know, that this is why we were able to use Angular, because it abstracted away that, you know, the view layer from everything else. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, download Pocket Riv too. Download everything. I'm going to release QuickNoms too, because my child is hungry. So.
Click some ads.
Yes, please. There's no ads. It's so stupid.
Are there any questions? We have a question. Is QuickNoms on GitHub?
Yeah, everything's on GitHub. So I really should give a bunch of links here, but if you go to jlooper/QuickNoms, that is the web, and it's interesting because it is like this. The GH Pages branch, that's the original static site. It's like a Jekyll site, and then on master is the Angular CLI stuff. So you should be able to just download this and then run ng-serve, and it'll connect to localhost. That's the website, and then I have QuickNoms -app, and that's the mobile app. And they should run nicely, as long as I didn't forget any pieces. Sometimes I forget a piece. Nope, I got it in. Yep, it should run.
Cool. Any other questions?
Isn't NativeScript fun? So many projects, so little time.
Hey, Jen, I'm going to send you an email tomorrow to catch these links, and we'll update the site because there's a lot of interest.
Yeah.
Apparently,
if you go to
write 200 character URLs, and I can't really blame.
Sorry, and the the actual talk is on slides.com, so maybe what I should just do is include a slide at the end of that with all these links, and you'll have everything.
That's a good call, yeah. Okay, appreciate that suggestion. That's a good one. What else is on your minds? Cool. Well, just remember, NativeScript is free, so at the end of this, there's no sales pitch, no hard close. We don't want your kids or your credit card.
Well, I mean, if you have a credit card and you want me to take care of it for you, it's okay.
And Jen, thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you.
I'll let you look at your audience.
All right. You've been a great audience. I'm just going to stop the recording.